Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be covering over a certain video that I've been seeing on YouTube. That video being kind of subpar's take on the Janitor versus the FNAF universe. What do I think about it? It's not very good in my opinion, but we'll just add the criticism at the end of the video, since I would like to debunk most of the important parts of the video itself. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Everyone had their surface level opinions, but I rewatched the movies, read the comics, and revisited the FNAF games to answer, can the Janitor solo the FNAF universe?
Short answer, no.
From with weapon usage, no one has been able to put up a fight with them at all.
People have actually tried to fight back, in the comics and in the movie. Two instances for example. One in the comics where the main character kicks Willie in the balls and he reacted to it before getting KO'd. In the movie, when Liv confronts Cammy and they go into a full-on fight, Liv tries to go all-out physical on Cammy before getting ultimately dog-shitted on, until the Janitor came in, absolutely destroyed Cammy.
And despite all of that, the Janitor was able to completely annihilate these guys with no issue.
As in by no issue, earlier in the film while the Janitor was cleaning the bathrooms, he was ambushed by Gus Gorilla, overpowers him for a short while, even tanking the Janitor's punches right to the face, for ultimately sending him to the stalls, and then getting jumped by a plunger. And it wasn't until the Janitor finally got into his bearings that Gus Gorilla was still dominating the fight, and then ultimately sending him into a stall. You could say that this was an element of surprise kind of attack, but the Janitor still had his bearings, and he was still trying to punch Gus Gorilla with just his bare hands, but it ultimately did nothing as he overpowered him.
The alligator who's been seen crushing heads with his bite was simply overpowered by the Janitor using his bare hands.
Artie didn't actually crush the entire skull down. In the comics, he mainly just latched onto the skull, and a few pages later, the head will be stuck onto a broom. We can assume that Artie just ripped off the head from the body along with the spine. So it's still impressive, but not necessarily a head-crushing feat.
But even the ostrich was able to pierce skulls with its beak, and those same attacks only left small cuts on Nikki here.
The closest I can find where he makes that claim is this image from the comics, which from afar looks like a piercing feat, but when you get closer, it's actually just Ozzy just ripping off the head off the body, which, yeah.
His most impressive durability feat was when he took on multiple slashes from Willie himself. Willie just moments before fighting the Janitor slashed a woman in two with a single swipe, and those same attacks just left a few gashes on them. This level of power is consistent in the Willy's Wonderland comic books, so it wouldn't make sense to think that Willie was suddenly not trying to kill the Janitor.
The Janitor earlier in the movie tied duct tape around his waist in the restrooms. That's how the Janitor tanked Willie's attacks without getting the same treatment from Lund. Willie himself was also confused on how the Janitor was tagging his slashes, but after just ultimately slashing Lund off. So he kept doing it over and over again without getting any new results. I feel like I had to debunk this since nobody even brought this up.
I should also mention the Janitor's energy drink, Punch. We don't know if it's actually a performance enhancer or if it's a stand-in for like Red Bull. A character in the comic drinks it and says he feels like he can take on the entire world, but he gets no diff later on in that same issue, so. The movie treats the drink as kind of a video game power-up, but as we saw in the comic, it's not gonna hard carry someone who would otherwise be incapable of fighting.
On the cover, it mostly says it has caffeine, and that studies show that caffeine boosts someone's energy.
There are a lot of animatronics, most of which are featless, so I won't be going over each and every individual from Fredbear to the Mimic.
Sure, some of them lack feats, but they actually have very good inverse, including those from the VR games. For example, the toy animatronics from FNAF 2 should be comparable, if not superior from the original animatronics, due to their endoskeletons being stated to be sturdier than Endo 01.
The FNAF animatronics don't have any insane showings throughout the series since their opponents tend to be average people and, literal children. We do see normal people tussle with these guys. John in the books was straight shoulder checking and fighting the animatronics mano a mano. Okay, maybe not mano a mano, but still impressive.
He literally doesn't even fight them face to face, he just caught them off guard.
FNAF Verse is surprisingly fast though. Calculations made by people much smarter than me put them in the superhuman to subsonic range. So like, fast enough to get a speeding ticket in a residential area.
Cops wouldn't even notice if they pass.
As for Golden Freddy, we don't really see much from him, at least not physically. It's possible that he killed the phone guy, but we don't know how or what he did to him, so... He is much more paranormal than the rest since he doesn't move and doesn't have a proper jump scare, at least in the first game.
He makes up with his lack of movement with a jump scare that literally crashes your game. And also with the abundance of abilities and hacks as Golden Freddy has. Not to mention that, in the week before, every animatronic jumped Ralph.
So the Janitor versus the entire FNAF verse. Who would win? First, let me say that with the sheer amount of animatronics in the franchise, there's no way that the Janitor can take all of them on at the same time. That'd be like 100v1, especially if you count the books and alternate forms of the same characters. But if you replace the main characters of each game with the Janitors, so like the Mike Schmidts and the Jeremy Fitzgeralds, how would it play out? Not well for the FNAF side. The Janitor would genuinely be a problem for these guys.
You compared a slicing feat to a literal wall-bursting feat.
You can assume that the animatronics in FNAF and Willie's Wonderland are made of similar materials. The FNAF ones obviously look sturdier, but that's just a real-life difference in budget.
FNAF animatronics can tank gunshots and endure ramming through walls, and their shells would still be intact. Also, bringing budget as an excuse is pretty stupid.
The only problem would be Golden Freddy, since if we assume that he did kill the phone guy, then there's obviously some way he can harm people, we just haven't seen how.
In the week before, Golden Freddy's aura literally made Ralph's nose bleed. Also forgot to mention this, but in the books, Golden Freddy can actually physically harm people with his bite.
FNAF 2 would just be more of the same, even with the fancy schmancy toy animatronics. There are 11 in total in FNAF 2 compared to Willie's 8, so he does have a few more to deal with, but none of the new additions have anything that would be particularly helpful against the Janitor. The puppet can maybe fly, I guess. We're also told how a simple flashlight can mess with the animatronics, as well as the addition of the Freddy mask, which completely disguises the user from every animatronic except for Foxy and the puppet. With a way to stun the animatronics on command, as well as a get out of jail free card via the mask, the Janitor should sweep right through FNAF 2 pretty easily.
First of all, FNAF 2's animatronic cast would be much worse than the original cast, since
the endoskeletons are stated to be sturdier than Endo 01.
And the fact that there is 11 of these guys, and the fact that the puppet is probably one of the most powerful characters in the verse. Second of all, isn't using game mechanics like cheating. I find this is a hypothetical power scaling matchup, not a what-if situation.
William in FNAF 3 should be the easiest for Nick. Springtrap, despite killing a few unsuspecting adults in his career, mostly focused on children who trusted the big yellow bunny. The Janitor is ripping him in half, at least in a fair 1v1. In the case that William got some prep time, I could see him creating something or using other animatronics to his advantage. The sound discs are the biggest wild card here since we don't know if the Janitor has any mental resistances, or if he'd figure out what they do in time before getting killed. If he does, he wins pretty easily. If not, then William could win.
There is practically no resistance against the illusion discs. You had to destroy the thing that makes the sound. Also, William Afton is not Batman, okay?
FNAF 4 is complicated, but if they're real machines the way we see them in-game, the Janitor takes them easily.
They're illusions. In Fazbear's Frights, Didophobia, there were mannequins on rails that William used and added hallucinogenic gas to make them what they are, the nightmare animatronics. This is the only game that the Janitor wins.
I should mention again their aforementioned weaknesses. Electrical shocks can stun and knock each of them out via their animatronic parts, and fire can release the souls from their metal bodies. If the Janitor caught onto this in any capacity, the verse is pretty much done for. Taser, 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 and each one is down.
Not every animatronic is vulnerable to electricity. Also, where the fuck is he gonna get a taser from? Not to mention, how will he know their weaknesses? There is no possibility of the Janitor knowing each animatronic's weaknesses. This is a power scaling matchup, not a what if situation.
None of the animatronics can overpower him or reliably land a killing blow. Like I said, this guy took multiple slashes that were capable of chopping people in two. The Janitor wipes these guys, from sister location all the way through security breach.
The Janitor used duct tape around his fucking waist. Without it, he's just gonna end up like Lund. He isn't surviving a fatal blow from Freddy. Also, from sister location all the way to security breach, it's already hell enough.
But what do you think? Can the Janitor beat the Mimic and in turn solo the verse? Or am I completely wrong and he actually loses a 1v1 against Funtime Foxy? Let me know down in the comments.
There's a little reason why I'm making this video, buddy. So now that the video is over, thank God, what do I think about it? Not very good. I couldn't even classify it as actual power scaling. He mentions the original's beat the Twisted One's feat, but somehow sided with the Janitor for some fucking reason. It should be pure logic. Furthermore, he barely shows anything about his claims, while leaving us the parts to think about what he's talking about. There are no scans, barely any evidence, and just goes with the bandwagon and say that this is better than that, just for little Nikki to win. He randomly makes up stuff that the Willie's animatronics didn't do, like Ozzy shattering a skull. No parts of any Willy's Wonderland media ever shows that. He also decides to use in-game mechanics to win. This is a physical fight. Why is he cheating? Plus, he wouldn't know that in the ring before getting his head ripped off. He also didn't mention the abundance of hacks and abilities the FNAF verse had, especially in the Fazbear Frights books. And sure, there are some animatronics that are sort of featless or just barely have any good feats, but there are multiple statements that can guarantee with upscale from the original animatronics. This video is poor of power scaling, in fact on the same level as Goji Guy. And remember, just because the latter is something the opponent has fought, doesn't mean it's already weak. For example, just because Rexy is a dinosaur and that King Kong fought dinosaurs, that doesn't automatically mean he wins. I'd rather die on this hill than submitting. Anyways, here's my rendition on who would actually win. No game mechanics this time, cheap. In FNAF 1, he would lose it badly to the original 4, since they're insanely fast, faster than his body can react, and they can actually fight back in the Charlie trilogy. The AP should also scale their durability as well. For FNAF 2, he would lose even worse than the first location, since all the animatronics except the puppet and Gigi have a sturdier endoskeleton than the first game, not to mention that the puppet is there. They neg badly. For FNAF 3 is a better option since now that there's only one animatronic in the location, but it's still overkill since the man in the rotting bunny suit, William Afton, essentially tore the originals apart and that would really be a one-shot feat. He didn't really die in a spring-long bunny suit, he became fused with it, essentially growing stronger than William Afton who tore the OGs apart. Not to mention he's also as fast as the other animatronics. In FNAF 4, this would finally give the Janitor a W for once. As you heard, the nightmare animatronics are simply mannequins combined with hallucinogenic gas to make them look like nightmares. From FNAF Visitor Location to Security Breach, this is a fucking nightmare. And welcome to the last section of the video called Editor's Notes, where I put corrections at the very end of the video instead of just using all my effort to replace that coexisting shit, I don't know. It wouldn't make sense that Willie wasn't trying to kill the Janitor, but it would make sense that Willie was just doing it since he wanted revenge since the Janitor literally killed his friends. And this could be dismissed as vengeance instead of in the comics where the animatronics just playfully kill their victims. Also forgot it, but not all the Willie's animatronics can no-sell bullets. In one of the issues, Tirotolo got his arm shot off when they were in the hardware store. But anyways, that will be it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, bye!